Alright, how's it going, everybody? This is Ismortah, and I have for you part 8 of Kingdom Death Monster, the beginning of Lantern Year 3 Settlement Phase. Looks like the sound works. So you may already see some stuff that I had gotten out with resources and some gear and stuff. That's only because I started thinking about some strategy prior, just because honestly I could spend hours just theory crafting what to do with the settlement, what to do with the survivors. So I have some ideas here. This here is innovations I have, resources I currently have, and what I have here are just ideas for gear, and with these, ideas for what to spend innovations on. So it just sort of brainstorming ideas. And you may notice on the gear grids, they look a little different as far as where I allocated gear. That's because I sort of think about what I'm going to do for the next hunt possibly, and who should acquire or get different types of gear and weapons, so blah. So just doing a little bit of the unlimited strategizing, which, I mean, I could spend days just strategizing what to do. But that's not the most interesting stuff to watch. You want to see what you do in the settlement phase, and talk about what strategy I'm going to execute, not going back and forth about what strategy I should do. Anyway, all right, so let's do it. So this is the beginning of the settlement phase. So again, I'm following along on this little tracker here, which is also on the reverse of this hunt tracker on the bottom. Has exactly the same thing, but since they have this card that's just easier to use, it's really verbatim the same thing. All right, so first we got set up. I've already have all the stuff out I need. Future innovation cards. The innovation cards currently have my innovation deck, which I've shuffled, settlement deck, which I've shuffled, and I have the book here in reference because we will have at least one story event because people died. But there could be more. We'll see. All right, so first up, the survivors return. Heal returning survivors, remove tokens. It said don't remove gear, but I already shuffled gear. That really doesn't fucking matter. The only gear that can't come off someone ever is the Twilight Sword off of Isma. And that's when she goes out on her grid. Not every grid. Okay, so we had 2 people die. If it recalls, Dusa and Klingeth. The 2 males, interesting. And then we heal damage. So I won't worry about setting armor because I'm going to be shuffling gear and stuff. So I'm just healing damage right now. So get rid of the light body and light the foot on Isma. And then get rid of all of the arm damage, all of the body damage, and all the waist damage on Snahevi. Alright. Check, so we heal damage. Remove any tokens. No one else had any weird tokens that could come off. This one's permanent. This is the Love Rock. Okay, so now we gain endeavors. So because I only have 2 returning survivors, I only get 2 endeavors, which are these here. I just have here where I'm potentially going to place them. So I only get 2 endeavors. Okay. Next up is update timeline. So draw a settlement event card and resolve it, and then trigger any story events. Alright, so on timeline, we're now at Lantern Year 3. Put it in that box. And we do at least have one event to do after the settlement, which is the, we triggered the death milestone. And you know what? Since that happened last, we'll go ahead and do that one first. We'll do a little out of order. We'll do that one first. Or will we? No, I'll follow in order. Okay, so we're going to do settlement phase first. I mean, we're in settlement phase. The settlement event. So I've already shuffled. So now this is the settlement event. And if you can see here, there's nothing as far as scripted story. We're here. That's scheduled. But during Lantern Year 4, there's going to be a Nemesis Encounter. So that's maybe, bad news bears. All right, let's see what we get. This says Triathlon of Death. All right. So this is one I've never seen before, so that's cool. Let's see if I can get Triathlon of Death. Looks like there's 3 different contests people can do. And it'll be at the top to determine if people doing all of them. Well, I'm assuming so, because triathlon. So there's a race, a debate, and a fight. The settlement enrages in games of skill. Each player nominates a different survivor. Every nominated survivor determines their score for each possible contest. Survivor's score determines their place. If the settlement only has 1 survivor, do not roll. They realize that they have been competing against themselves and gain +3 insanity, a random disorder, which could be good or bad, and the last man standing fighting art. So in these contests, there are good and bad things that can happen, obviously, just as everything else in Kingdom Death Monster. But for every survivor that goes through this contest will get 3 insanity, a random disorder, which could be good or bad, and the last man standing fighting art, which is awesome. So that's interesting, because what I could do is give people that I really want to have it now the fighting art and 1 other person. That way later I can use an endeavor for my shadow ritual to share it with more people. So that means permanently my civilization could have crazed and last man standing. So I may finagle that. We'll see. As far as choosing who goes up. Because this can be any survivor in the population. Even ones that I haven't created a gear score yet. A gear grid for. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stats and bad things that could happen. So what's interesting is I could do this on people that I haven't used yet, as a way to give them stats. Or I can use it in all of the people. Well, I guess half the people died. So yeah, I guess by default I would be doing that. Oh, I see. You do a triathlon. I see. And you roll for all the events. And then depending on each survivor, whatever your place is in every event, then you either have good or bad things happen. That's what it is. So that means you have to assume that good and bad things are going to happen to all of your people. So it's more like, let's see here. I have 2 people that died. I have Snahavium, and I have Isma. The fact that Isma's the leader, I figure she should inspire people to be better. So I think she should be a contestant. But then at the same time, I don't think Snahavium should be, because that's like my best person right now. So I think I should do a spread. Just like you do in sports ball. Like I should do like a really ideal person, a couple people that I would like to get involved, and 1 person that has nothing. That way I sort of have a spread that if somebody happens to a really good guy, I have another good guy. I have people that could have stats, could be good or bad, and then someone that is not involved that could, or I could just do 4 completely different people. That's the other thing. I mean, technically I have a population of 12, you see here, and I've created, I don't know, 10 names or something. 2 people died. I could even use this as a way to inspire new people. So, like, I could do 2 new people for this. And then I could do one of the kids and Isma. That's what I could do. Because, like, these 2 are my best people right here. So I could do one of these, one of the kids, and 2 new people. I mean, I have a huge population. This is why I have a lot of people with different stats. Plus, if you have a higher population, you have people you can burn through as far as if you know there could be something potentially bad. This way you're not always killing off all of your best people because there's a chance that what if everything's bad? So that's why I like to say it's a spread. You know, one of these people, which I'll do Isma, and then one of the kids, and I'll get 2 new gear grids. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, and just so you're aware of whoever's spamming in chat, that you will get, I'm gonna ban everything you're saying in chat right now. So, have fun with that. Okay, all right, so that's what I'll do. So I use 2 new people. So I use Oko and Gora. And then I'll use Isma. And then also, let's look at the kids. Of course, maybe I should have both kids compete. Because, like, sort of like test their mettle. It is a possibility. I could. But I'm sort of testing the entire population though. So I have like a child. No, I'll do a spread. That way it's sort of like a sample of the population. 1 the child, 1 of the seasoned people, and 2 newcomers. No, I'll do that. Well, I guess technically that's the leader. Isma's the leader. So how about well, fuck. I could just do all 4 just for simplicity. I know I'm going back and forth about this. It's just that it is the fun. No, I'll keep with what I said. So I'll do Isma, who's ideal. You know, out of the super people, out of the newborns, and then new population. Because I want to have this contest, triathlons, like inspire people, not people who are seasoned. So I'll do Isma. I'll tell you what, I'll do Isma, both kids, not the parents, and then 2 new people is what I'll do. That's what I will do. Okay. So I need to create 2 more gear grids. So, 1 second, I need to find that. Okay, so we're creating Oko, who is, I don't know these genders. Gora sounds female and Oko sounds male. Okay. So we've got Oko, who's male, gets 1 survival, and starts with 1 permanent stat, and I'll do accuracy, just because I want to do a spread of stuff I haven't seen before. So I'll do 1. Okay. And then we also have Gora, who's female, 1 survival. And what's a stat I haven't just added to by default? Gora sounds like something you have to do with strength, so do +1 strength. Okay. So we have Isma is going to use this. We want to do this competition. We're going to inspire people. So we're going to have all the people in civilization, newborns, and her will compete. All right. Of course, if I do the kids and these people, then Isma isn't competing. Well, I guess I could just do that. Okay. All right. No, you know what? I'll do that. I'll do these 4. I will do these 4. Of course, if I do it on 4 new people, then I have people that I'm sacrificing like lambs who I'm not going to use. So that's like, if it's good, I'll take them with me. If it's bad, I'll keep them punished. That might actually be the better thing. So I'll tell you about this. We're not going to do the kids. We're going to use this as a way to inspire new civilization. So we'll have 3 new people in Isma. That way, if something bad happens to Isma, I can just not take her. Otherwise, it's inspiring the troops. All right, that's what we will do. So the last one I have is Valerie, who I haven't done yet, as far as names. So that's obviously female. Now I gotta think up new names to add in case more stuff happens. Yeah, see, that's me, because like, right now, the civilization is like a resource. So I can burn them and give them disabilities, who cares? I just need to have a certain population. Alright, so survival's going to be 1. I got to, of course, mark dash on these people because the civilization knows dash. And, you know what? I'll give her accuracy 2, also. Accuracy 1, I mean. Okay. So this competition is going to be inspiring new civilization. We've had people die. We've had new births. But we want to inspire more people to step up to the plate. Okay, so we got Gora, Oko, Valerie, and Isma will compete. Okay. Let's go ahead and do it. Sorry. Okay, so according to this, I have to roll for everybody. So let me get this so you can see the stuff. Okay. Because I'm going to save the rolls on these. At least that is the idea. Okay. Unless I want to do this on the entire new population. No, I'll have her inspire. She'll be involved. Okay. Alright, so what do we do? Each player nominates a different survivor. Every nominated survivor determines their score for each possible contest. Survivor's score determines their place. Okay, so I have 3 contests, and I'll just write the numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I roll D10. Okay. And actually, since I have 3 different colored dice, I can roll them all at the same time, actually. So for the race, I'll do white. For the debate, I'll do black. And for the fight, we'll do red. So it'll be race, debate, content. Just like when I roll d10s for the table D100, I'll do this and then end with blood. Okay? I'll do this for all three. Let me just make space to roll. Okay, so we got 8, 3, 5 for Valerie. Next up is Oko. Wow, that's some good rolls. Okay, so we got Oko got 10, 4, 6. Now we do Gora. And you notice in this competition there's 3 females and 1 male. That's because females are strong. Oh wait, so Gora got 7, 10, 3. And now we do Isma. I think she got the worst in every one, actually, which makes sense since she's disemboweled and just fascinated thinking about her pet rock, so it kind of makes sense. Okay, so she got 3, 2, 2. All right. I think she actually did worse in all 3. Because she's hurt. Yeah, kind of makes sense. Okay, so now let's determine who gets what. They realize they have been competing against themselves and gain 3 insanity, 1 disorder, and last man standing fighting art. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give the stats first, and then we'll figure out the things that happen for each race after. So I didn't read this whole thing. Wait a minute, hold on a sec. Yeah, I don't care. I'm doing audible. I read this whole thing, but I didn't read the bottom. If someone does terrible and everything, but a lot of this is just supposed to go next, not. Because you want people doing stuff that does chance at failure or death. Okay, so the reason I'm going back and forth about it because I didn't look at this whole card to see what happens, and it says at the end if someone gets 4th place and everything that they're banished, and if that's one of the potential risk, then I don't want her to be even go. So I'm gonna undo this whole thing just because I didn't read the rest of this card. You know, like you. Of course, when you do this, you also don't know what's gonna happen. You have this really good person symbolically. Well, I mean, fuck. Well, I already did it, so I'll just continue. Anyway, it says here, I'll just keep going. It says if one survivor gets 4th place in all events, they are banished from the settlement and considered dead. Oh, wait, there's 4 events. Oh, 4th place in all events. Okay. Let me check something. Okay. So before I do that, let me add all the stuff. So +3 insanity for everybody. 3, 3, 3. Isma's at 7. Okay. And then all of you get then all of them get a random disorder. So let me shuffle the disorders. I'm not sure if I shuffle that or not. Let me look at it, take a look at it. See, the problem is, if there's someone you don't want to die ever, you have to not use them ever. Because in this game, really good things, really bad happen to all your people all the time. So it's only if you don't use it. Like, people are gonna cycle out all the time. So you can't have like this favorite that you want nothing bad ever to not happen. And the problem what I did with Isma is having it so, special bonuses but super punishing. Okay, well, eventually all these characters may eventually die. So it's like she should then be a leader and not be used. I say that because I just created potentially a huge penalty. But anyway, I'll get into that. It just means that I'll give the penalty to people and I won't use her ever again, since she's technically banished. Of course, if she's banished, then you could argue then they get... Well, anyway, we'll theory craft in a sec. Story-wise, I don't want to undo anything. I'll just story craft it. How I'm going to do it. Alright, so disorders. So everyone gets a random disorder, so I'm just shuffling the disorders right quick. Which can be good or bad. It's a disorder, because after all in this game, if you are insane, then you get actually certain bonuses. So it's more like you're most likely going to gain something, lose something. But some of these could also just be bad. Or some of them can just be mildly bad, like you have a stupid habit like Beloved Rock, for example. So, we shall see. But I think I've already made my determination that whatever I do story-wise, I'm not going to do Isma anymore. But it's just funny. It's funny how the stories turn out. It's like, oh, she's leading this group and this power and stuff, and then it's like, yeah, well, fuck you. You're so weak and pathetic. We get your ideals, but we don't need you, sort of thing. That's what it sort of turned into. Like, good beliefs, but it's not all about her. It's about civilization, you know? On the other, well, I'll get there in a sec. I'm just thinking about how I want to do this. And like, how you read the card is straightforward. It's just the fact that I added the Ismortah story to the game. I want to make it fit the story. That's what I'm doing. So, okay, so next up, everyone gets a random disorder who participated. So Valerie is going to get binge eating. Eating is the only thing that helps you escape your miserable life. You cannot depart unless you have a consumable gear in your gear grid. You must consume if a choice to consume arrives. So this person, if you ever want to go out, you always have to give something to eat, which is pretty bad. That's a bad one. All right, next up we have is Oko, who has seizures. Lingering damage from your head injuries have caused you to experience periods of uncontrollable shaking and absence of thought. During the showdown, whenever you suffer damage to your head location, you are knocked down. So that's not terrible. It's bad, it's not terrible. Binge eating is a problem, though. Consumes resources. Okay, Gora got apathetic. You've given up. Nothing seems to matter. You have no concern for your own well-being. You cannot use or gain survival. You cannot gain courage. You can cure this order if you have 8+ understanding. So Gora is actually kind of boned for us to game. So Valerie and Gora right now are boned. And notice these are all new people except for Isma. Okay? Isma got... I'm trying to figure out if I can say this correctly. Oh, I don't think I showed you the last one. Apathetic. Sorry about that. I don't know if I showed it to you. There you go. This next one is coprolalia. You have compulsive tics in the form of sporadic muttering, cursing, whimpering, and screaming. All your gear is noisy. So that's just showing you that if anything affects making the word noisy, it would affect because this person has this card. You are always a threat unless you are knocked down, even if an effect says otherwise. So this one is actually really good because that means this person is always the target, regardless, always the target. So if you have that person being ability to tank, then that's actually really good. And actually, she has high evasion. So actually, this is actually great for her. The problem is she was last place in every event. But I'll communicate more about that once we go through the events. So these are all the stats. So everyone got 3 insanity, a random disorder, and now everyone also gets last man standing. So let me get that. I'll show it to you. I'll record it on everyone's gear grid. I mean, on everyone's character sheet, and then we will continue. So I'm trying to find it. Is that a special art? I don't see it here. I don't see it in fighting art. Is that special art? It might be. It's called Last Man Standing. Oh, I cannot. Wait, maybe. What does it say? Yeah, it's a fighting art. Why can I not find that? Last Man Standing. Okay, here we go. This one is actually fantastic and actually great to share with the entire civilization. It's really good. It allows me to not totally bomb an event. So this one is Last Man Standing. What it says is, while you are the only survivor on the Showdown board, so you have the last person on the board, you may not gain any more bleeding tokens nor be knocked down. Now that's fantastic. So that's mean it prevents a total wipe. So for the rest of that Showdown, I can't bleed as a way to die, and I can't be knocked down, so I can keep doing attacks. That is amazing. This is definitely one I'm going to share with my tribe. That is fantastic. All right, so go ahead and I'll add it to everyone's gear thing, and then we will see what stats everybody gets. So again, these are all new characters that weren't born. They were just part of the population, and then this is Isma, who is the leader, and the one who created this culture around Ismortah. Okay, so this order we got binge eating. I'll also make a note what that means. That must consume to hunt. I'll say, just to abbreviate. And then we got Last Man Standing. Which is if last survivor cannot bleed or KD. And see, because after you get these orders, you record it and archive it. That way someone could potentially get it again. Disorders here, we got seizures. When hit, head, always knocked down. So this one's not terrible. Binge eating's terrible. This person's not coming out ever again. Apathetic's not coming out ever again. Oko is good because I could still get really good stats unless something horrible happens to her. But Isma, she is last place in everything, is probably going to get everything bad all to her, which is good. That means Oko will most likely be fine. But anyway, we'll get there. Last Man Standing. If last survivor cannot bleed or knock down. That's archived. Gora got apathetic. And you can only have 3 fighting arts and 3 disorders, so if you ever get another one, you can choose one at your choice to get rid of. But honestly, if you have that many disorders, you're a waste of a character. And if you have 3 fighting arts, you're an amazing character. So apathetic cannot gain survival or courage. That's terrible. You can't gain survival. That means you're just a waste of a character. I mean, that is just terrible. But it kind of makes sense, though, if we do these settlement events, to do people in your settlement, because you have people you can burn, because you have a population. That you can roll the dice and see out of the population who's good and who's bad, and then take the good people with you and banish the bad people. In this case, you got 1 good person out of 3 people in your population that were new, and Isma, being disemboweled, just fucking sucked at everything. Like, she wanted to set an example, but she just fucking sucked at everything. Okay, last man standing. I'm just making all the story flow. That way it's not just random stats, but hey, what are these cool things that happen? That's one reason why I'm recording these, just because, record the story. Okay, so the last one, which is the word I can't pronounce, is coprolalia, which is actually one of the best disorders to get, because you can use that in your advantage. But she sucked at everything. Coprolalia, which is noisy plus always threat. Okay, well, it's not as good as it's not that she's always the priority threat. It's she's always a threat even though knocked down. So it's not as great as I thought. But last man standing is definitely something I want to share with the entire population. So that's definitely one I'm going to do for sure, because that's great. Just in case it goes to shit, someone can finish the job. Okay, so I recorded all that stuff. Now I'm going to go through all of these. I'm sorry, this just involved a settlement event I've never seen before. Which is fine, because since I already figured out kind of the grid I want to do, it doesn't really matter. You can see even the setup here, it didn't include Isma anyway. Okay, so now I do stuff depending on how they placed. So first place, first was the race contest. Oh, no! She may not have been last and everything. I forgot, when you do each of these races, you also add certain modifiers. I thought it was just the D10. You also add modifiers. That can actually change stuff. So wait, hold on a second. So for the race, you also add movement. Everybody was 5, so that's a wash. For debate, you also add understanding, which makes sense. Race, you're moving. Debate, if you know shit, and fighting if you have strength. So actually that changes everything. Or it might. So one sec. So for debate, whoever has understanding, you get a bonus. She has 3 understanding on debate. So actually her number here was actually a 5, not a... So she actually didn't get... So actually no one got last. No one failed every event. So no one gets banished actually. So that's actually good. And then the third one, you add your strength if you have a permanent bonus, which she did. Her strength is actually a 3, not a 2. But she is tied for last place. So that means technically they would both. I would say they would both get 3rd place then, since they're tied. I'll roll with that. Okay. Cool. So it's actually not as bad as I thought, because I just don't think I will have her participate anymore. Okay, so let's see. So for the race contest, first place was Oko, who gets a +1 permanent movement once per lifetime. So her once per lifetime has been consumed. Race first place. So she gets +1 movement. So this is a 6. And then second place on the race would be Valerie, who gets +1 courage. Okay. Third place, gain a new pair of rawhide boots. Wow, free gear. Awesome. Which I believe adds to movement. Well, no. Rawhide boots, when you depart, get +1 survival. So free gear. Awesome. Let me see who that is. Who's third place? Gora. And then last place was Isma. Suffered a torn Achilles tendon, severe injury. And I believe that has special... I believe that's a permanent movement loss or something. Because I believe that's on the table. Let me just check. Man, there are a lot of attractive females in this book, I have to say. Hopefully there's someone single. Okay, let's see here. I think that's... Let's see here. Torn Achilles tendon. Your leg cannot bear your weight until the end of the showdown. Whenever you suffer light, heavy, or severe injury, you are also knocked down. Skip the next hunt, gain 1 bleed token. So she has to skip the next hunt regardless of what I'm doing with her. So I record skip next hunt. There are other bad things that happen with torn Achilles heel, but that only happens. The only stuff that applies for the end of the showdown, which when we're not in a showdown. Okay, so that was the race. Now for the debate. For debate, first place for the debate was actually Gora. Gain bragging rights and +1 skull basic resource. Fuck yes, man. So I don't see it here, but I'll just have it be archived. Okay. Second place on debate is Isma, who gets +1 understanding. Now she's at 4 understanding. Third place is Oko. Survivor gets too angry and must skip the next hunt. So this one's skip hunt. Okay. And then fourth place, gain the apathetic disorder, which I believe was one that we read before. It sounds familiar. Apathetic cannot gain survival or courage, so that's really bad. So Valerie is boned. Okay. Now we do the fight contest. So first place for the fight was Oko. +1 weapon proficiency level. But doesn't have any proficiency weapon, so unfortunately that's a wash, unfortunately. Second place in strength is Valerie. He gets +1 permanent strength, which is cool, but unfortunately, I'm not. She's a liability. Third place then gets a random fighting art, and I have 2 people tied for third place. Is that right? I don't think so. I think I didn't add the Goras. I think Gora rolled a 3, Isma rolled a 2. Now they're tied, but she also has +1 permanent strength. So actually she was a 4. So Gora gets a random fighting art. Which is great, because then somebody else I can potentially share. But see, to share it, you could potentially annihilate that character to give other people that. So it's like, it's also a risk, because they see some of these disorders are actually really bad. Alright, so Gora gets Unconscious Fighter. It takes 7 bleed tokens to kill you. This one is fantastic. That makes it harder to kill. And if I share that with everyone, you can fight, unconscious. That is amazing. Amazing. That is awesome. Cool. So I'll add that back. That is then archived. And then last placed, which is Isma, as I trip over cords, suffered this dismembered arm severe injury. I mean, Isma, regardless of my reasons for having her not be involved, because she's the beacon of this culture, or I should say religion. The culture is the lanterns, the religion is this shadow shit. She now has a torn tendon, a dismembered arm, and disemboweled. I mean, she is just now, out of fucking commission. That is terrible. So now I'll read what dismembered arm does also. That's also a severe injury. But yeah, just from participating in multiple showdowns, a hunt, and this competition, she is just out of commission. Out of commission. All right, so I'm looking for dismembered arm. Okay, dismembered arm. Lose an arm. You can no longer activate two-handed weapons. So that means she can't even use the Twilight Sword, because you need 2 hands. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. So she can't even use the Twilight Sword for the rest of the game. So in this debate, even whether this character, is overpowered or what are you doing with it, it's more just like story flavor that I created a punishing situation as well as a bonus. But now I'm not even using the bonus. So now it's like a wash. I'm not getting the penalty, and I'm also not getting the bonus. Then now it's just story flavor. Even though I did add a couple things, from the light, shadow, and dark societal shit. But, that's just fun stuff I added. Okay, let me go back. Lose an arm. You can no longer activate two-handed weapons. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. A survivor with 2 dismembered severe injuries cannot activate any weapons. Gain 1 bleed token. Yep. So she is out of commission. She can't walk. I don't know how she eats when she's dismembered. Disemboweled. She lost an arm. Yeah, she is done. She is just done. It's cool that she has all this courage, understanding, and shit. So now she would just be a spiritual, voice, but she is So done. Disemboweled, a beloved rock. She's obsessed with a rock that she loves, but she is the voice of reason. She did create the culture. She's disemboweled, torn Achilles tendon, dismembered arm. Yeah, she's done. She is done. Okay, so that's the rest of the competition. This also said that if a survivor gets fourth place in all events, that they're banished and dead. And that's why I was like, oh shit, Isma. But she actually didn't get last place because I almost forgot to add the bonuses to each of these events with the traits of that character, in addition to the role. Okay, so that's it for that settlement. That was a fun one, good one. A lot of shit happened. She was almost banished, but she just been destroyed as a character that she is just, out of it. Okay, so that was the settlement event. And now I'll just record what that event was right quick. Triathlon of Death. This is so, for fun, I can go back to and reference. And now we do the next event, which was we had 2 people die. So now we trigger the first time death count is updated story event. So we look up principal death. And again, this is just the settlement event. And settlement phase. And I've already sort of mapped out what I want to do as far as spending resources. So this is going to go relatively quick because this is basically what I want to commit to. This and sharing a fighting art is what I plan on doing. Okay, so now I'm looking for principal death story event. 155. But yeah, what I was going to do is if she was banished, because I said if she dies that she uses the society's power to heal. But it said you're banished. That's what it said for the purpose of the game, considered dead. But the story was what I would do is people would just lose all of this bonus that she had with her. So all these bonuses would go away for the future. But for now, she's staying with it because she wasn't banished. She just can't participate in hunts because she's worthless at this point. There's like a couple of these other survivors here. Only Oko is of value. So now I can take her on a hunt. But these other 2 are kind of worthless. They just have such an expense to them. Oh yeah, we also gained a rawhide. Yay. Free resource. And somebody can wear that. Cool shit. Okay, so principal. Principal death. I'll show you the picture, which is pretty gruesome. And most likely that's actually the one I'm going to go with. And I'll explain why in a sec. All right, so these other cards I'm going to archive. Last Man Standing, which I should have added, but that's okay. And then these 4 disorders. All right, principal death. The group must decide what to do with the first survivor corpse, of which I actually have 2. Well, so I'll have the first one and then trigger because we'll see. I can either do the first harvest or the first grave. So, because of my civilization, like as far as what to do best for the civilization, being creative and survive, I definitely do balance approach. For new life, I always do the light approach, and that's why you get a bonus. You embrace anything have to do with life and caring for young ones. But for death, I do the complete opposite. That when someone dies, they're worthless, and you just capitalize on their life force and everything to benefit you. So, there's first harvest and the first grave, and because we're not about honoring the dead, we're consuming the dead. We are going to do the first harvest. So the settlement decides to harvest the body for resources. So I go with the death principle, cannibalize. And I believe that's in innovations. So we're going to protect the young with all our effort. But if you die, you're going to be consumed and absorbed, as opposed to protected. And that fits our civilization, our religion of Ismortah. Okay, so we're going to choose cannibalize for death. So let me get out that innovation and see what it does. And then there's a table that we do stuff also. Okay. So we're going to so I'll go ahead and show you both since we're not going to see it. So one is graves, that all survivors start with more understanding, and if they die, you get more endeavors. I believe that's one I did in my last campaign. And Protect the Young I did in my last campaign too. And I was thinking about doing the other one because stat-wise would have been better, but this just fit the religion that I'm doing. Protect the Young. I may, for fun, do other ones I haven't seen, and like when I get a new campaign with the new expansion content, but potentially. I'm just having this fit the story, is what I'm going for here. So, cannibalize. So this raised my survival limit by 1, which is great. That's more opportunities to do stuff. And then whenever a survivor dies, draw 1 basic resource and add it to settlement storage. Do not gain a resource if a survivor is lost, ceases to exist, or exiled. So I don't get a resource if somebody leaves for any reason other than dying. But if someone dies, I get a free resource. And as you know, already I have it. If someone dies, everyone in that same showdown gets a stat. So everyone will get a stat, and I'll get a resource every time a survivor dies. So if multiple survivors die, then I'm getting resources off of it. So like if I take purposely people into the hunts and have somebody die, I can actually get an extra resource by doing it. And extra stats. So it's also an interesting strategy that if I always have it that someone has has a potential to die, everyone will benefit from it. Just like everyone benefits from new life also. Well, at least the couple involved. Cool, so I got cannibalize. So survival limit +1. So now my limit is 3. So I'm updating the limit of my civilization to 3. And Oko, and what's fortunate too is Oko, the only person that of significance came out of the triathlon. His movement now is actually 6, which is also awesome. So survival +1, and then gain 1 resource on death. So every time someone dies, gain a resource, and survival limit +1. So now we have 4. Well, we technically have 4 innovations. So we have 4 innovations. But these aren't from the innovation deck, but these are innovations. Societal stuff. Okay, so and then we do the table. Sorry, last stuff going on. So, and I finally tripped the cord. 1 sec, I'll fix. Sorry about that. I knew I'd do that eventually. Sorry. Okay. All right. The settlement gains the death principle cannibalize. Find and place the card on the settlement board and note it on the settlement record sheet, which I did. After adding the card, roll a d10. So I'll do blood one just for keeping it immersive. So we rolled a 4. The settlement ritualistically divides the corpse with a sharp stone. It grimly consumes the dead flesh. gaining a Founding Stone starting gear, which is awesome since I spent 2. I get 1 back because, you know, that's a free hit and a free crit. That's awesome. And all departing survivors gain +3 insanity. So all departing survivors from this next summit phase will get +3 insanity. So I'll just mark temporarily somewhere. It's not, I need to do that. Okay. And so we got +3 insanity. And we get a Founding Stone, which is awesome. Because that's another opportunity for a free something. So we got a Founding Stone, of which we have 3. So knowing its high value, let's go ahead and give it to people. So we have 3 Founding Stones. I just lost where I put the 3rd one down. Oh. Okay. There's no more Twilight Sword. That's with Isma. Same with the Pet Rock. She does gain a proficiency, though. I need to do that. So even though she can't use it ever again, she does gain 1 weapon proficiency. And Snahavium, you actually would have done this at the end of the Showdown. I just forgot to do it. Gains 1 specialty in Qatar, because if you damage. Okay. And then they also gained 1 hunt experience. So Snahavium goes to 3, because she's been in every hunt. And Isma goes to 2. Which means she also does the Age story event. Even though I'm not going to use her, most likely, for the rest of the game, unless I have to. So let me now go to the Age story event. And now, but now going forward, whenever people die, also do they cannibalize for resources. Okay, so now I go to the Age story event and determine what Isma gets. Which technically I should have done before the event, because that may have raised her stat by a little bit. But anyway, we will not take that back. Okay, Age. So I just basically just roll a 2d10. So that's 13. Gain 1 random fighting art, which is great, because that way, even though I can't use her, she could share her fighting art with everybody else and gain disorder, which then I don't care, because I'm not going to take her into battle. So that's fantastic, actually. So she gets a random fighting art as her result. She does gain weapon proficiency because she already had it. All right, so she gets Mighty Strike. On a perfect hit, you get +2 strength until the end of the attack. So that's awesome, because that means if I share Mighty Strike with everybody and Craze with everybody, that means every time someone does a perfect hit, that they'll get an insanity point and +2 strength. +2 strength for the rest of the attack and +1 insanity. Period. That's awesome. Those are both things that would be great to share. Last man's, I mean, there's a lot of ones that are good to share. But this would be another good one, actually. I mean, a lot of the funny arts are really good. It's the disorders that are hit or miss. That's mostly a miss. All right, so she already had Last Man Standing. Now she also has Mighty Strike. What's funny is she learned Mighty Strike, but now she can't strike anything. So then it fits that she's just been torn apart physically, and then she's going to tear herself apart mentally to share her power with everybody. That's good. It kind of fits, actually. So Mighty Strike on a perfect hit +2 strength attack. Okay. And then that's archived. Cool. A lot of shit going on. Okay, so we did the death story event. We did the age story event. We did our settlement event. Now, I believe we are ready for doing endeavors. All right, so trigger story and settlement events. So we did settlement event, the age event, and death event. So now we need to update the death count, which I've already done. Check for milestones, which we already did. Now we can develop. So now we can spend endeavors and buy stuff. All right, so let me get a sip of coffee. And I basically have mapped out here. So we're just going to do this stuff, and that'll be the end of the stream. Okay, so I like to do endeavors first. So we have 2 endeavors because we only had 2 people live. So I really want to innovate because that means not only will we trigger the thing for having 5 innovations when we go to the next settlement phase, because you always do milestone stuff during the settlement phase. I just do stuff having to do with courage and understanding right when they happen. Just because thematically it fits better. But this is a societal thing, and we've already gone past the societal part now, just like preparing for the hunt part and doing activities. I don't know. We'll see. I may just do it during this time. We'll see. Okay, so anyway, I would definitely want to innovate because you can get more survival and shit. And then I wanted to spend another one on sharing a fighting art with everybody. So I need to determine what fighting art I want to share. But I'll do innovation first because you could get something from innovation. So let me show you what we have as far as the locations again. I'll go ahead and move all these scores. So Gore and Valerie are people. There's ones we're not going to use. Just like Isma, who I'll put at the very bottom. And these 2 next to the bottom. The kids and Citroni are all good ones. Oko is a good one. Okay, so we have make sure you can see. Okay, we have a Katarium. We have a Bonesmith. We have an Organ Grinder. We have a Skinnery. And then we have the Lantern Horde. And it's at the Lantern Horde that if you spend Endeavor and one of each resource type, you can innovate. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to spend an Endeavor, and we're going to spend a Lion Claw, a Monster Hide, and Golden Whiskers to innovate. Okay. So to innovate, I've already shuffled this deck. This is my innovation deck, whereas these are extra innovation cards. I draw 2 and I choose 1. Okay. So the 2 we can choose from is Hovel and Pictograph. One's a paint consequence, and the other one is a language consequence. So if we do Hovel, let me show you the pictures. Okay. If we do Hovel, I raise the survival limit by another 1 point. So that means my max will be 4, which is awesome. So then I just got to come up with more creative ways to give everyone bonus survival when they depart. But the settlement accepts the nightmarish landscape as their home, and departing survivors also get +1 survival. So this is really fucking good to actually, you know, make homes to live in your civilization. Go figure. Yeah, we have this cool competition testing people's metal, but it's like, okay, but, you know, we also want to have a place to live. So that's actually really good. Okay, so pictograph. At the start of a survivor's act, they may decide to skip their act and run away, which is a story event. After a hunt is resolved, a survivor may decide it's time to go home and run away. And again, you trigger a story event. So I don't know what runaway does, but I think it's a creative way that you can have someone be part of the hunt or the showdown and then leave before something bad happens. So if you're in the hunt, you can join and then leave. But if you're in a showdown, you can skip your act and run away. And I think run away is you go back to civilization. I don't know what that is exactly. But you know what? I'm gonna look it up just because if you have the possibility of learning to run away, you want to know what that involves. So let me just see what that would do. I'm leaning more towards hovel anyway, because like my society needs a place to live, and we need more survival to be able to do stuff like dash or prevent hits. So it looks like runaway, it's basically not a courageous thing, it's a fearful thing. So that somebody can have potentially different level of bad things happen, but you can avoid but you can skip an act or leave the showdown altogether. So I'm not feeling that one at all. I'm sure there may be good consequences off a pictograph that's high value. I'm just not seeing the immediate value in this. So I'm going to go with hovel. Raise my survival limit by 1, and everyone, when they go out, gets a survival. Which then also means, after I do this, I'll also add the hovel consequences to the deck. So then there's new civilization things I can advance since I know how to make a home. So we're going to do that. So we're adding hovel. We're not doing this one. This one's still in the deck of choices. Our innovation deck, but we're learning hovel. So I'm going to record that down. So we have hovel. And then we also have protect the young. And we also have cannibalize. So I'll check the rules in the innovation deck just to see, because, I mean, these are innovations, but maybe the spirit of it is the principles shouldn't count as innovations, even though in the back it says innovation. But I was going to treat it as innovations. All right, so we learned hovel. So +1 survival. I'm just writing briefly what it does on the sheet. That way I don't have to keep looking at the cards. I can just look at the sheet for everything that happens. So you got +1 survival. Limit / depart. Okay. So we've recorded hovel, but we'll keep that. And now we add the hovel consequences to the deck. So these are all the possible innovation cards, with which there's a shit ton. You'll never see all of these. So I'm looking for all the ones that have to do with Hovel Consequence to add to the deck. That's what I'm looking for. And I'll look twice just to be sure, because I don't know how many there should be. There are a lot of consequences. Okay, so it looks like there's 3. So far I've found, from learning Hovel, other ones you can do are bed, partnership, and family. Which sort of fits, because that all has to do with the light part, like raising kids, raising a family. Okay, so I'm just going to look one more time and make sure there was one that I missed to add to the deck. It would be a Hovel Consequence. No, I think that's it. Okay, so these are the possible other cards for innovations. So I add these 3 to the deck. So now you see, like, my innovation deck is really large. So now the possibility of getting certain ones are even less likely, because now there's a lot more choices, because Civilization now has a lot of creativity and knowledge. Anyway, I could shuffle this later, but this is the innovation deck. These are my 5 innovations that I know. I'm just going to check right quick for innovations to see if principles count toward innovations. If they do, and we're still in the settlement phase, I'm going to trigger the event, because we're still doing settlement shit. And even though it says do stuff in this order, I think it's dumb, because if you're doing settlement stuff, you can still do settlement stuff. It's almost like story events. They should happen where they make sense. Like, you have to do Civilization, you're in the Civilization phase, do it. If you're in the heat of the moment and something happens, then if it's just a trigger thing and not something that takes time to do, it should happen when it's triggered, sort of thing. My opinion on it, and that's how we're going to play, just to have the story connect more. All right, so I'm looking up innovations. Or maybe I should look up principles. And then I'll look up innovations. Principles are settlement's guiding philosophies. When a principal story event triggers, there's someone else to make a choice. Doesn't say anything about that being counted as innovation. It's just weird, because the back of it says innovation. So that's why I'm like, am I sure? And it even says when you have a weapon specialization that you share with everybody. So it's like anything that's shared with everyone's an innovation. So, like, for example, the fact I have light, dark, and balance, and dark ritual, those would technically be like innovations, even though they're not. It's stuff that you share with everybody. Anyway. Yeah, I don't think, even though the back of it says innovation, which it looks like it shouldn't, it doesn't count as innovation. Of course, I looked in the glossary. Let me just look in the core rules in the center where it actually just explains innovations. Because I actually think that principles then should not count as innovation. Because innovations are like stuff that you innovate, not just a choice that you make for society. So that sort of makes sense. You're innovating something. Not necessarily just sharing something, you're innovating. Anyway. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, settlement. Blah-diddy, 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 blah. Yep. The back of the card says innovation, and maybe that's a relic from KDM 1.0 when it was freshly designed and needed more testing, but no. It's not an innovation. Okay. So I'm going to raise those two. So technically innovations were only at 3. So we're nowhere close to triggering that event anyway. But we gained a whole bunch of survival, which is great. Okay, so we did that endeavor. Now we have one more endeavor. For this endeavor, I want to share a fighting art. So I want to see what's the best fighting art to share. Okay. So I've crazed. You can get some insanity by default, just by doing stuff. Last man standing can prevent a total wipe. That's interesting. I would say that's more interesting. It's more powerful. What else we got here? Unconscious fighter that you need 7 bleeds to die. That's really good. So that means it's hard for someone to kill you with bleeds. That's really good. Maybe even the better move, because I don't ever plan for a total wipe. Unconscious fighter may be better. I don't know. Those are both really good. Mighty Strike on perfect hit you get bonus attack, but that's only if you get a Mighty Strike. So, I mean, those are good, but I don't think those are as good as some of these others. So I think Gora has the best ones. Last Man Standing and Unconscious Fighter. Those are the 2 best ones. And Gora has sabotaged as a character by being apathetic. So I could share Unconscious Fighter. The Last Man Standing just allows you to not bleed ever for the rest of that showdown. Yeah, I mean, that means the last fighter can never be knocked down and can never lose by bleeds. You can just lose by getting attacked. But then if you have Unconscious Fighter, at least by bleeds, none of your characters can die. So it's like, I mean, I could eventually share both and just have Gora be torpedoed, totally. I don't think I'm in a situation fighting the cat anyway that I'd be a total wipe, but against the butcher, who knows? I think it's better not to have a total wipe, because every time someone dies, everyone gets more powerful. And it's like, would I ever die by bleeds? I mean, if everyone gets bleeds, I guess it's possible. Those are both good. They're both good ways to save. Last Man Standing, though, could permanently stop being knocked down and bleeds, and you'd have all these stats. So I think Last Man Standing is to better protect you from totally bombing the showdown. I think that's the one to do. So if that's the case, then I'll do it on Isma and give her a second disorder. That's what we'll do. Okay. So what am I doing? So one of the abilities of my religion that I have for this, this innovation stuff in Principles is the settlement, but I also have the religion, which is Ismortah. I have a ritual called Shadow Ritual. If you spend Endeavor, you can share 1 weapon proficiency or fighting art with 4 survivors. Original survivor skips the next hunt and gains a disorder. Well, Isma is already not going. Isma has a disorder and is borked. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to share Last Man Standing with 4 people. Okay, so I'm spending my last endeavor. First, she gets a random disorder, so we'll see what she gets. And I forget the rules if you get the same disorder twice. I may need to check that, because I don't know if you get a disorder you already have, Does it mean you don't get into this order, or does it mean that you get another one? Let me check that right quick to see what it says. My thought on it is it's just a wash that you don't get in this order, but I could be wrong. Depends how punishing this game is, which, as you know, is designed to be pretty punishing. Because this game isn't about the individual like D&D, it's about the civilization. So you'll take wins, you take losses, but the civilization will live, even though individual characters may die, is the idea in the game. So let me see if I can find it. Only people can... Here we go. If you gain a disorder you already have, nothing happens, because you already have that disorder. Okay, that's kind of what I thought, like I said the first time. Okay. Alright, so Isma gets Hoarder. You compulsively collect and stash anything you get your hands on. Every little bit you add to your secret hoard makes your existence feel more real. I feel like this is talking about myself. Whenever you are a returning survivor, archive one resource gained from the last showdown and gain +1 courage. Okay, so you definitely don't want to take her because she's going to steal resources. But as a side effect, it's a way to give people courage. So it's like you're spending resources to give someone courage, which honestly I think is a waste. Unless there's stuff in this game that you need high courage and understanding in order to not get like killed or something, which is also possible. Alright, so she gets Hoarder. If returning survivor, archive one resource plus gain +1 courage. Okay. So that's her. She got this order. This will be archived. Blah. And now I'm sharing Last Man Standing with 4 people. Is that what you had? Let me make sure. Okay. So I'm going to share Last Man Standing with people that are like really good right now. So I'll do Snahavium. Actually, you know what? I think it's a little overpowered. I think I'll change it to 3. Because this game has a thing that you give it to a bunch of people other than yourself. So that's using the number 3s. So I'll just change a scale down to 3. Same with Twilight Night. Say 3 survivors. Three and 3. Okay. Okay, so 3 people will get this. So I want to give one to Snahavium. So Snahavium has one. Oko already has it. Eldcore is a valid target. Vol is a valid target. Saturni is a valid target. Gora got annihilated. And Valerie got annihilated with being apathetic. So these 3 are not going anywhere, unless they have to. So I want to give it to one of these 2. So the one with the next best stats is Citroni, so I'll give it to him. I'm just writing down what they are and what they do. Okay. And then for the last one, I can give it to one of the kids. So one has 2 luck and one has 2 speed. If I want to ensure someone hits and be lucky of living, it's more likely to be lucky of also hitting. So I'll give it to Vaudel. So basically it's like, if I'm looking at this correctly, anybody with luck got it. Because it's lucky. So that makes sense thematically. Okay. So again, what I did is I added the religious traits that was something you can spend endeavor on, which is shadow ritual, that I had it so I can give one of the survivors skip the next hunt and a disorder to share the fighting art that they have or weapon proficiency that they have with 3 other survivors. And so I shared it with one of the kids, Vaudel, and then both parents, Citroni and Snahavia. Parents and one of the kids got it. For the, blessing the family. Eldcore didn't get it though. But he also doesn't have luck. He's more sneaky. Okay, so I did that. Now, I've spent my endeavors, now it's purchasing stuff. So regardless of who I spend, this is basically what I want to purchase. I've already mapped that out. Okay, so so as far as other resources I have here, it kind of changes a little bit. The fact that now I also have stored, I have a skull, 2 white furs, and 2 broken lanterns. And then out here, I have the resources that you see. These are innovations. And principles. Innovations and principles. Okay, so I want to I'm going to spend three bones to make a bone club, which you see here. 3 bones to make a bone club. Which, I'll show it to you. If I can focus. So it has pretty decent accuracy, really great strength, but it's cumbersome. But then I have other ways I'm going to do to overcome cumbersome. And since it's not slow, I can also add to its speed also. So I'll give that to this person, Bone Club. And then next thing I want to make, which is pretty thematic, and I will also make a small clip of this because it's very funny. One of the items that I got that dropped during the showdown was lion testes, which is an organ. It's also consumable, which is weird. We'll explain. It's a hefty pair of nuts. With the lion testes, I can make a frenzy drink, which looks like, I don't know, It looks like a jar made from one of the testicles. As an action, I can consume this once per showdown to give the person that's holding this frenzy. So you can drink that sweet, sweet ball nectar and get the frenzy trauma. What the frenzy trauma does is it removes the ability slow that may be on your weapon. And then you roll 1d10 to get that much insanity. And then you also get +1 to speed and +1 to strength for the rest of the showdown. So it's really good. And and frenzy is actually also something that can happen when you take brain damage and roll on the table. It's one of the possible results. So this is really good. For the time being, I'm making this with the lion testes. Making some love juice that you drink. Yeah. Next up, I'm going to make is some white lion gear while I have it. So I have 2 furs. You need a fur and a bone and a fur and a hide to make these 2 items. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to erase for my resource storage, white fur times 2. And I'll make both of these using a lion tail and a lion claw. And I'm going to make the following items. First one I'm going to make is a white lion coat that gives me the ability to pounce. And what's cool about this is if I pounce, I can then trigger a weapon, including a weapon that is cumbersome. So that's really cool. So this allows me to essentially move and attack if I time it correctly. And I'll get +1 strength. That's really good. That's the idea. Plus it adds armor to your chest, which is the most likely target to hit. The other thing I'm making is the white lion gauntlet, which gives me another bonus when I pounce. The effect, I'll not only get +1 strength, but also +1 accuracy. And more protection, so when you touch those sensitive things like a nightmare tree, you won't die. You only get hit on your hand. Armor. Also, I'm trying to accumulate white lion armor because now I'll have 3 pieces. If I get all 5 pieces, then I'll get the set bonus. Also while I'm doing it. So I'll put all of these on my dude for time being. I'll move frenzy drink. I don't know. I'll just put it anywhere in the gear grid for time being because I'm going to massage this a little bit. Alright, so that's all the stuff I'm going to make. Now I'm going to archive the rest of the stuff. So I have now 3 lanterns. I had 2. I have got another one. So I have 3 broken lanterns. I have a skull. I have a sinew. And I have a lonely ant. Okay, so these are all archived. And I know you could, when you're on the hunt, you can't get cards that you already have. But since I'm in the settlement phase, I counted that I can archive it just because you're in the fucking settlement. So it's, you know, anything I'm doing to the settlements, I allow me to do the settlement phase. Anything that's hunt and like, you know, that you can't spend an exorbitant amount of time on. That's really just at the moment. I'll do at the moment stuff when it happens in Showdown. Okay, so we did endeavors. We bought stuff. Now the last thing is prepare departing survivors and plan for the hunt. Now, like I did last time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have everything involved with that's related to the hunt as part of the hunt, including not just the hunt. So what I mean by that, and I'll do this going forward. The settlement phase, I'll just do settlement crap, okay? But during the hunt stream and sessions, now on, that's going to include planning who I want to go out and doing the hunt and setting up the Showdown board. So that way, because it's all hunt related, like who's going to go on the hunt, doing the hunt, and then how are you going to initially attack the creature. So the showdown then will just be doing the actual showdown and then the rewards at the end. So the showdown would just be like the raid, and the hunt will be everything setting up and preparing and pursuing. And the settlement would just be stuff having to do with the civilization. So what I mean by that is, this could be end of this stream, which went kind of long because we had a lot of story stuff, and I was trying to figure out how to work that settlement event, which was really cool but really lengthy. And then also, I had some other things on, oh shit, what characters do I want to give certain stats and all that shit. Because now I have a lot of people. Cool. Well, thanks for watching. Again, the next stream will be showing who's going to depart strategy-wise, doing the hunt, and then setting up the showdown board, which is there's strategy involved as far as placement of the terrain and where your people start at. Cool. Well, that's the plan. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. And unless otherwise noted, definitely expect one of these streams every day. So you should see an entire lantern year on average, like 2 a week. That is the plan. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Ismortah, and I will catch you next time.